Well, Mike, I suppose that there wouldn't be anybody that really didn't understand what it was all about, but can you just give us a quick summary of the events, and then maybe we can talk about what transpired after that?
Yes, Don, there's lots to tell, but on the Saturday, the Chamberlains arrived at Ayers Rock, and...
the Chamberlain family,
yes.
How many were in that
family?
family?
There's Mum, Dad, and the two boys, Aidan and Regan. Aidan's 6, Regan's 4, and baby Azaria, who was 9.5 weeks old. And they arrived very late on the Saturday night and set up the tent. It was after sunset. On the Sunday, which was the 17th, Dad, they did all the things that tourists do, which is climbing the rock and photographing all the caves and things, and then it all sort of happened about 8 o'clock on the Sunday night. To get my facts right, Mum took Regan and put him in the tent, and he was asleep in the car when they arrived back. Regan had a sleep. Azaria was put down in the tent. Aidan, the 6-year-old, said, "Is that all the tea I get?" Because they'd had their dinner. And Mum said, "No, well, I'll get you some more." So she went back to the car and got the baked beans from the boot of the car and started to open the baked beans with Dad back at the barbecue area. And Mr. Chamberlain heard what he thought was a short, sharp cry. Am I too long? I'm sorry, I'm going as fast as I can.
No, no, please, don't.
A short, sharp cry. And he said, "You better just check on Bubby." And Mrs. Chamberlain, Lindy, said, "All right," and she went back to the tent. And she got about 10 metres from the tent. It was about 25 metres from the barbecue area to the tent. She got back to the tent and she saw what she thought was a dingo. You have to see the place. It was very dark. There's only one little lamp at the barbecue area. And there's a railing, and you just can't see the opening to the tent. And she just saw what she thought was a dingo. And then she raced into the tent and looked, and Regan was still asleep in there, and she just said, God, the dingo's got my baby," and raced around the back of the tent and saw another dingo there, and but it had nothing in its mouth, and she raced back over, and then the search started. So it sort of all happened between 8 and 8:15, our time.
Well, you were there through most of this inquest. You went and visited too. Did you go visit?
Yes, I went just after that. And I'd just like to say that I went 8 weeks after this, and we were trying to cook a barbecue then, and there were certainly very aggressive dogs around who actually stole our sausages, which is a very small kind of discrepancy compared to what other people have gone through. But there are aggressive dogs in that area still, as far as I know.
Well, have there been other stories of other children being taken by dingoes? There seems to be a discrepancy in that, at least from what I read in the paper. Some said yes and some said no. What's the feeling there?
5 cases of children being taken by dingoes were cited in the court. One only not terribly far away from Papunja, which was an Aboriginal settlement north of Ayers Rock. And it was many years ago, some 30 years ago, I think.
What was the most recent besides the Azaria Chamberlain?
That would be that one at Papunja.
That one?
Yes.
And what's the feeling of the local people there?
Oh, Alice Springs, the people will not accept that a dingo took the baby. I don't know why it is, but people just seem to want to blame somebody, not a dog. The people at Ayers Rock, for instance, seem to accept that a dingo did take the baby.
But Mike, do you think a lot of the people who still are not convinced by the coroner's verdict, don't you think that's sort of an example of terrific religious bigotry in this country, that because the Chamberlains belong to a religion which is a minority one, that a lot of people kind of somehow prefer to feel sinister feelings towards them than towards a much maligned but lately loved animal?
I don't know, Richard. This is a strange, has been a strange case and still is. And you must have heard the dingo jokes. Everyone's heard the dingo jokes. Well, they're around, I promise you.
Well, we're just getting back to this religious thing for a second, though. More reason would be that there are questions left unanswered by this coroner's verdict. Obviously, or according to at least what I read, there was human intervention somewhere between what is it? The child disappearing
human intervention
altogether?
in the disposal of the child's body. I mean, the
Well,
coroner has found that.
what was that about, though?
Well, it means that the coroner has accepted that a dingo took the baby from the tent, but there was human intervention in the disposal of the child's body. It suggests that the dingo left the baby somewhere and that someone has come along and found the remains of the child. And for some reason, I don't know, they've decided that they should dispose of the body and just put the clothes right over the other side of Ayers Rock to infer, if you like, that a dingo was responsible.
I see.
And
well, why would someone protect a dingo? It's supposition, Mike. I'm not asking you to
Sure
pinpoint
it is.
things. I'm saying if this is the instance and they're saying there was human intervention, all I'm asking is, why would they suggest that the human intervention took place? Why wouldn't somebody say, here's a body, I found this?
Well, I don't know. There's only one or two people who know exactly what happened, and that is the person or persons who intervened. But it must be accepted.
There definitely is proof that they did intervene.
Well, it's not.
It's not proof, it's a
It's not
hypothesis.
proof, exactly.
Yeah.
The clothes, it would be physically impossible to take it is regarded as being physically impossible for a dingo to have removed that baby from those clothes and to have left those clothes in that position. So.
All right. Well, I suppose this will go down now as one of the great mysteries also of Ayers Rock, being virtually totally unsolved. I don't see how they can ever...
Well, are they reopening the case now? I mean,
No, the inquest as such is finished. Right. The case itself, of course, is continuing with a police investigation, and that will continue, and until such time as they can find people...
Are there any suspects in the case, Mike?
Do you mean as official suspects?
No, I mean unofficial. I mean, you were there for a while in Alice Springs. You heard a lot of rumours.
We could get sued if I were
No, well, don't mention any names, but I mean...
Of course there are rumours. There are rumours, but I mean, there were rumours that the Chamberlains did it. There were rumours, as we were talking about...
The Chamberlains have been absolved, however.
I know they've been absolved.
Well, they have been. Illegally, they've been absolved.
Well, more than legally. I think morally. I think it's a noble victory for the Chamberlains.
Well, no, it's not a matter of victory. God, they've lost a child. They've lost a child that hardly anyone has spoken about. And no one sort of felt for this baby. And that's one thing that worries me. I mean, a child of 10 weeks old has feelings. Good Lord. A child of 10 weeks old hurts and cries when it's not well. That's another point I didn't bring up too. Yeah. They think the baby was having digestive problems. And possibly if the child had been ill or had a soiled nappy, dingoes, did you know, can pick up have a sense of smell that is so acute they can pick up like 10 and 5 miles. Right. And another thing people haven't talked about is the fact that dingoes whelp only once a year. They have puppies once a year, given all the correct ingredients. And June, July, August is the whelping season, and it is possible that a dingo at Ayers Rock had puppies and needed to feed them.
Thanks for coming in and talking with us. Here's the coroner's verdict, which we have on videotape. This is what the final verdict was from the coroner in Alice Springs. Was this? Would it have been Alice Springs or Ayers Rock? Alice Springs.
Alice Springs.
Alice Springs, coroner, yes. Here it is,
Find that Azaria Chamberlain, a child then of 9 weeks of age and formerly of Mount Isa, Queensland, met her death when attacked by a wild dingo whilst asleep in her family's tent at the top camping area, Ayers Rock, shortly after 8 p.m. on the 17th of August 1980. I find that after her death, the body of Azaria was taken from the possession of the dingo and disposed of by an unknown method by a person or persons name unknown.
Of course, that also was another first in Australia, televising live the results of a coroner's inquest. And the pressure showed on him, too, I think, there, a little bit of stumbling. Thank you, boys, for coming in. I appreciate it. Huh?
Okay.
We'll see you again, Richard. Mike, thanks a lot. Okay, all the best to you. Stay here. We'll be back.